On a warm Thursday evening in Brookdale, a small town tucked neatly between open farmland and new suburban developments, the streets were quiet. The sun sat low on the horizon, casting a soft orange glow across empty roads and well-trimmed lawns. Most homes were settling into their nightly routines, kids finishing homework, dinner sounds drifting through screen doors, porch lights flicking on one by one. But something else was going to happen that night, something that would shake the entire town, expose years of misconduct, and rewrite the future of the Brookdale Police Department. Driving down Route 9 was Drive Marcus Ellison, age 42. He was a tall, calm, sharply dressed black man with smooth dark skin, short-cropped hair, and a quiet, observant demeanor. His navy blue suit jacket rested perfectly over his shoulders, and a silver tie gleamed faintly from the fading sunlight. Jazz played softly from the speakers of his black sedan. He had just finished a conference where he spoke on civil rights compliance and law enforcement auditing, a field he had worked in for nearly 2 decades. Marcus was a federal inspector. His job? Review and audit police departments for racial profiling, excessive force, and civil rights violations. Brookdale PD was next on his list. But he had chosen to arrive a day early, unannounced, to observe the town for himself. He liked to understand a community before stepping into its institutions. Little did he know, Brookdale's problems would reveal themselves to him before he ever set foot in the station. Marcus's car rolled smoothly down the quiet stretch when suddenly red and blue lights exploded behind him. Sirens wailed. He wasn't speeding. He wasn't swerving. He had made no violations at all. Still, he pulled over. 2 officers stepped out of the patrol car. Officer Brian Keller and Officer Todd Simmons. Both white. Both wearing the kind of swaggering expression Marcus had seen at too many departments before. Keller was stocky with a shaved head and an aggressive stride. Simmons was lanky, nervous-looking, but with a smirk that showed he enjoyed his partner's theatrics. Keller approached the window, flashlight blinding Marcus even though sunset still lit the road. "License and registration," Keller barked. Marcus handed them over. "Of course, officer." "May I know what I—" "Step out of the car," Keller said sharply. Marcus blinked. "Is there a reason?" "Did you hear me? Get out." Marcus exhaled slowly and stepped out, keeping his hands in view. He taught hundreds of officers how to handle civilians during stops. He knew this posture wasn't about safety, it was about intimidation. Simmons walked around him, circling like he expected to find something criminal floating around his suit jacket. "Hands on the hood," Keller ordered. Marcus obeyed. "Officer, if you could just explain the basis for—" Before he could finish, Keller shoved him hard. Marcus hit the hood with a metallic slam, his chest colliding with the cold surface. Pain shot through his ribs. "That wasn't necessary," Marcus said, voice controlled but strained. "Don't tell me how to do my job," Keller growled. Without warning, Keller twisted Marcus's arm behind his back, wrenching it upward with deliberate force. It wasn't a restraint. It was punishment. Marcus clenched his teeth. "Officer, my shoulder!" Keller yanked harder. A sickening pop echoed through Marcus's body, a sharp jolt of pain shooting down his arm. He gasped. "You're injuring me." "Quit resisting," Simmons chimed in casually, though Marcus hadn't moved at all. Keller shoved Marcus's head downward, scraping his temple across the hood. A deep abrasion split open across his eyebrow, warm blood streaming down his face. Simmons snorted. "Look at him. Bet he's one of those corporate types trying to look expensive." Keller held him pinned for several painful seconds before releasing him abruptly, making Marcus stumble as he tried to catch his balance with an injured arm. "Get back in your car," Keller said, "and stay out of Brookdale if you don't want more trouble." They walked away without a single justification. No ticket, no warning, nothing, just 2 men abusing power because they felt untouchable. Marcus stood beside his car, blood mixed with sweat on his brow, shoulder throbbing deeply. Anyone else might have driven home, shaken or defeated. But Marcus wasn't anyone else. He wiped the blood from his eyebrow with a handkerchief, took a steady breath, and slid back into his car. Instead of driving away, he turned the car around and drove straight to the Brookdale Police Department headquarters. Officer Keller and Officer Simmons walked into the station 15 minutes later, still joking about that fancy guy who probably cried on the way home. They pushed open the double doors and froze. The lobby was full. Deputy Chief Anderson stood near the front desk. Several sergeants were present, and in the middle of them stood Marcus, his suit still crisp, his posture calm, but with a bandaged arm and dried blood visible above his eyebrow. A medical report lay on the counter. The deputy chief looked furious. "Officers Keller and Simmons," he said, "meet Dr. Marcus Ellison, the federal inspector sent by the Department of Justice to audit our department." The room fell silent. Keller's mouth dropped open. Simmons looked like his lungs stopped working. Marcus turned slowly. "We have already met." The deputy chief glared at them. "You assaulted a federal auditor." The next 3 weeks was something Brookdale had never seen. With Keller and Simmons suspended, Marcus launched a full-scale audit. He reviewed bodycam footage, pulled patrol logs, interviewed residents, and uncovered complaint files that had been hidden or quietly misplaced. He found 27 unreported traffic stops, all involving black drivers. He uncovered 14 complaints that were redirected instead of filed. He spoke with officers who finally admitted they had been afraid to speak against the toxic culture. By week 2, the story hit statewide news. Residents held community forums, demanding answers. Parents shared stories of their children being unfairly profiled. Good officers stepped forward, relieved that someone was finally. On Marcus's final night in Brookdale, the community gathered for a town meeting in the local auditorium. The room overflowed with people, families, pastors, teachers, store owners, activists. Marcus stepped to the podium, arm still in a medical sling, his eyebrow healing but still marked by the wound. The room fell silent. "What happened to me," he began, "happens to countless black Americans every year. The only difference is that I had the authority to expose it. But no one should need power to be treated with dignity." People nodded. Some wiped tears. Marcus continued, "Brookdale begins a new chapter today. One of accountability, safety, and justice that belongs to everyone." He outlined the reforms: a civilian review board, federal monitoring, bodycam enforcement, better training, and a zero-tolerance policy for racial profiling. The room rose in a standing ovation. In the back row sat Keller and Simmons, their swagger gone, staring at the floor, facing the consequences of what they had done and what they had almost gotten away with. The next morning, as Marcus stood outside the station watching the sunrise wash over the building, he touched the healing wound near his eyebrow and took a slow breath. Power, he thought, was never meant to shield wrongdoing. It was meant to serve. Brookdale would never be the same, and neither would the officers who once believed they were untouchable.